My opponent says that single-gender classes do not develop the social skills needed for life outside of school, specifically interacting with the other gender, and that it does not prepare kids for real life in the workforce. But we know that a lot of single-gender schools arrange co-ed activities outside of the classroom to develop these skills. Also, it is not always a single-gender school, but it can be just a single class. So you would still be going to a school and interacting with people of the opposite gender. They also have the opportunity to see them at things like church, clubs, sporting events, etc. Although students are still learning the same material in separate classes, students will also have more time to spend on focusing on units girls and boys struggle with. For girls, that could be geography, and for boys, English. My opponent also says that you are not able to learn the viewpoint from the other gender when discussing topics in class. But we disagree. According to Fraser Harrison, girls' classes can talk about body image, confidence, and risk-taking. With the boys, they get to have intimate conversations where their male teachers are teaching boys about what makes a good gentleman and how to act courteously. The kids are able to talk in a more comfortable environment with their own gender. You could also have teachers of the opposite sex and learn from their viewpoint as well. If it was absolutely necessary to hear from someone of the other gender, you could always combine classes or bring some boys or girls to share their viewpoints. Finally, my opponent believes that single-gender classrooms reinforce stereotypes. However, this is untrue. Classes or schools are optional, and kids voluntarily go to these places. If a child is uncomfortable, they aren't forced to stay at the school or stay in the same class. A lot of times, in mixed-gender schools, English and psychology are more labeled as stereotypical girl classes, and math and history are more boy subjects. In single-gender schools, you are still offered these same classes, and that is showing that classes do not actually reinforce stereotypes, as my opponent has led you to believe.
Go ahead, ladies.
Our opponent says that the opposite genders distract each other, but not all people fall under the societal standards placed on gender. Some girls are attracted to girls, and some boys are attracted to boys. And single-gendered schools would only enforce heteronormativity and homophobia. This creates a harmful environment for students to learn and grow in. Our opponent also says that in single-gendered schools, students are more at ease with who they are because they don't have to worry about judgment from the opposite gender. This isn't true. Studies show that in gender-separated schools, gender roles are more important, not less important, says Salome of the Montreal Gazette. The feeling of wanting to conform is present in all students, regardless if they are separated by gender or not. But separating the students will only enforce gender roles along with suppress who they want to be. Would two schools really be cheaper than one? Our opponent says that gender-separated schools are cheaper, but if you really think logically about it, that's double the books, desks, supplies, and staff to run each school. Everyone is an individual. Everyone has a different learning style, regardless of gender. Regardless of gender, as our opponent says. That doesn't make sense. Besides that obvious point, using our different teaching styles can promote sexism. If you ask a teacher for a girls' class to be calm as to not startle the students, you are saying that girls can't handle the boldness of that teacher. And if you ask a teacher for a boys' classroom to be more upfront or to challenge the students to be competitive, you're implying that boys are obviously more competitive than girls, which promotes sexism.
Today we have shown you that single-gender classes are more beneficial to students and teachers compared to mixed-gender classes. Not only do grades improve, but the students are less distracted, therefore receiving a better education. However, the students are not the only ones who benefit because teachers can create their lesson plans in a more efficient way. Most importantly, students are able to build their confidence, which will positively impact their life in the future. Now, think about your experiences in mixed-gender classes and what you have learned from us today. Do you want your kids to experience the struggles of mixed-gender schools or the possibilities of a single-gender education?
In conclusion, single-sex classrooms are not the way to educate students. The students are learning the same material, it promotes sexism and stereotypes, and it doesn't prepare you for real-life situations. With all these consequences, would you want to segregate your children and put them at a disadvantage for the rest of their lives? We think not.